Okay, we will bring this regular council meeting for February the 12th to order. It's 3 p.m. And I'll ask Councillor Maceras to please read the land acknowledgement this week.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we're meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Maceras. And we'll move on to 2.1. Are there any additions or deletions? No. Can I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried, unanimous. And we'll move on to 3.1, the regular council meeting minutes for January the 22nd. And when somebody's ready, I'll please have someone make a motion. Councillor Hystad.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I'll have a motion to accept those minutes as presented. Any changes? No? All in favor? Okay, carried. And then the agenda and priorities meeting for February the 5th. Please have someone make a motion to accept those.
I'll move those, Mayor Barkley.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Maceras. Councillor Bates.
Yeah, I have a couple of small corrections.
Yeah.
Under my round table, I think there were a couple of cut and paste that I did not attend the library board, and I missed the town hall, the Deletion Town Hall. They're both in there.
Okay, thank you. So we'll just have maybe change the motion, Councillor Maceras, that accept the minutes as amended.
Yeah, I'd like to move that we accept the minutes as amended.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And we will now move into 4.1, the Chief Administrative Officer report with CO Becker, please.
Thank you. Hello, Council. As the report reads, was away for some time on vacation. Thanks to the Director of Corporate Services and the SLT team for supporting me with my time away. Just want to indicate, last on Friday, was able to represent the town of Innisfail and the Energy Futures Lab at an Eco Impact Conference in Calgary, which really spoke to some of the good work that's happening in Innisfail regarding energy, strategy, the industrial park, etc. But all the good work that's been going on over the last several years, I was able to create some words to that to an audience. Just letting Council know or remind you that this week there's a strategy meeting with the South Red Deer Regional Waste Commission, which members of administration will be in attendance. Unfortunately, we were unable to get to you prior to that strategy session regarding their letter asking your opinions regarding the proposed storm pond, emergency storm pond, but that'll be coming back to you in the near future, likely into mid-March. But certainly, I believe Council will have representation there, but looking forward to a conversation with SRD just regarding the whole commission and the efforts of the commission. With that, if there's any questions or comments regarding this report or anything else, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Bates.
Yeah, through the CO, just wondering if we could get a little more clarification. So I believe the SRD, and I guess I'm going as a backup observer that day, they're going to be looking for what our position is, I think, because they asked for that back in December.
Member Councillor Bates, I don't think it's that specific. They won't have an engagement with municipalities just regarding what's occurring in respect to municipalities. So for the town of Innisfail, I&I is one. I think relationship and working together. And I think the storm pond will come up for conversation, but we'll communicate it's not coming from the town, this is the stance we want to take. Administration will likely have some opinion, but we will not put council in place that this is the way where the town
Okay.
wishes to
Thank,
proceed.
thank you for that clarification.
Okay, I'll please have someone make the recommended motion. Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I move that council approves the Chief Administrative Officer's report dated February 12th, 2024.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. And we'll move on to 4.2, the council action control. Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, or I was going to call you Counselor, Mayor
Probably
Barkley. Mayor Barkley, I just, one question for CO Becker about the pool tours and opportunities that we may have in 2024, if there's a bit of an update for us.
To Councillor Hystad, so yeah, we'll review tomorrow the specifics on time, but I believe we can achieve a list of potential aquatic center visits in March. I think we're working on that listing right now in coordination, but over the next few weeks, we'll likely have a draft list for your consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just have someone make a motion, please, that we accept the council action control as information.
Mayor
Councillor
Barkley, I'll make that motion.
Right, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And we will move into 5.1 with the vehicle noise bylaw, and welcome Manager Leith.
So at the January 22nd regular meeting of council, the attached report was presented detailing the process updates for the town traffic bylaw allowing for enforcement of excessive vehicle noise. The bylaw received first and second reading, with council requesting the bylaw be taken to the next regular meeting for consideration for third and final reading. Strategic plan alignment, maximise health, safety and well-being of residents, and the communication, the department will work with Protective Services team to develop an educational plan and materials to inform the public of this change and our enforcement level.
Okay, thank you. So have someone please make the recommended motion that we give consideration to third reading. Councillor Bates.
I'll move that council approves giving third and final reading to traffic bylaw 1719, 2024.
Okay, do we have any discussion around this item? No? Okay, then I'll ask for a vote on the motion. All in favor? Okay, and opposed? Okay, carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Manager Leith. Okay, we'll move into 5.2 with CO Becker, resolutions.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So as the report reads, administration is going to spend a little bit of time this week just talking about advocacy. Council approved or give some direction on building out a advocacy framework, moving it towards achieving what are your priorities for advocacy. A part of that advocacy program is exercising your ability to provide resolutions or draft and issue resolutions to the AM conference with the deadline for submission being May 31st, 2024. You might have seen through the AM newsletter that a call for resolutions. So I just want to bring it to your attention and see if council wishes to advance any conversation regarding submitting a resolution. So really it's there for your information, council. If there's anything direct, we'd certainly accept any direction you have, phone discussion.
Okay, thank you. So have had some discussions around, since we are the power of place, our strategic plan, and was kind of thinking about resolutions that would maybe support some of the work that we are doing or seeing, and maybe some, I don't know, policies that aren't quite aligned with maybe where we like to go. So things like demand side management, although I believe that may be addressed in the information that's coming out from the government at the end of February. But some other areas, and maybe Director Jenkins, you can help educate me a little bit further, but my understanding is when we have our solar arrays, for example, we're selling power back into the grid, we only get a price that's matching what the rate is that we pay. I would like to see that be a little bit of a different model where, where you're able to sell that back into the market at a different price. And I know that the same thing happens with consumers that have solar arrays at their homes. And I think there'd be a huge incentive if people could maybe get something other than what their actual price is. And I'm not sure why that's in place, but likely a good reason. And also, we've had discussions too, like with waste to energy and off-takers of that power. So there's restrictions in place where you can't be an off-taker, I believe, if the power needs to cross a road. Is that correct? So it's kind of around those areas. I know it would take some research and whatnot to come back to us, but really trying to support the direction we're going with our energy and our industrial park, and even energy systems, microsystems within the community with SEEP and that kind of thing. So those are just some thoughts from me. Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, I like where you're going with this, and I think it's really important for us to have this. I know previously debating, some of the previous, solar. There was the injunction. I think, what do they call it? Not the injunction, but the pause, right? But the moratorium. But where I like this solar piece is that where maybe the government's looking at incentives for people putting those in their in their homes. Maybe it's financial assistance, pushing or trying to work with the government where this is a proactive way to looking at the future, energy future. And that's what I was thinking, is that how do you word it in a way that is positive and actually is making a change within the new, the energy transition that we're going through, and without offending anybody. It's and then getting those communities on side who are leaders like us with solar power. So those are my thoughts for now. And I guess, Your Worship, a question would be is, would we want to have a day or set maybe a couple hours aside to help frame up those resolutions?
Well, I think it would be up to administration to go do their research and maybe reach out to external sources to support that. I mean, it's fairly complex, and I would also maybe wait till the end of February till the report comes out, that we're not doing something that's already being done. Like I said, I think demand side management may be certainly maybe addressed in that report at the end of the month, but some of this other stuff, like I've just heard so much from, whether it's Pharma or at the Western Canada Economic Development Forum, that policies are not aligning with what industry may want to do, with where government's at, and things, of course, move slow at times, but I just think there could be better alignment. Like I know we've talked before about power takers within that industrial park, and I don't think that's even possible, is it, Director Jenkins, unless they're kind of sitting next to?
That is laid out in some of the legislation, that it would have to be an adjacency, and that a road does not constitute that in terms of sharing agreements.
Yeah, but it's also in our franchise agreement for us.
Okay.
I guess my last comment before I sign off here is, I think with the writing or the investigation from the CEO Becker and staff is part of the resolution writing, and that's where I think that because I know previously I was asked, or we were asked, where are we going to put in that resolution? I think it's a shared, collaboration to put that down on paper as well. So that's where I was coming from with, where CEO Becker would have to do that research, but I do see where we add additional input to any resolution that we put forward. Thanks.
Councillor Wing?
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. Yeah, I love the idea of being proactive about this. I wonder from the work that you're doing with Kate, but also the Central Alberta mayors, if there's something that could be written that's sort of co-presented or co-sponsored by a group of us from Central Alberta relative to whether it's economic development or energy or whatever it might be. Certainly, I wonder if communities aren't even aware of some of the opportunities that we've taken with our solar, with generation on leased land, that kind of thing. So anyways, I look forward to hearing more about it because I certainly support the action.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bates?
Yeah, I believe I support the action. I think the challenge is going to be, if you feature yourself sitting in the big hall with all the individuals, getting the individuals educated and on side that are going to be voting. Because if it doesn't directly affect them, they tend to, I think that's the challenge. Yeah, we get to pick the song that goes with Sweet Caroline. It was a good I appreciated the connection here to the resolutions library. I didn't even know that was there, and I kind of went through it, and it's a little frustrating to me to look back on old resolutions and not see progress and not see even updates. Like that shouldn't affect us putting one in, but yeah, I stumbled across one in there. I was looking at it was ID'd as B14. It was provincial lending rates to municipalities, and the current status is to bring it forward under the new government. Like, that's not very up to date.
Yeah, and in fairness too, I think sometimes there's difficulty getting in front of the people they need to get in front of, so it sits there, kind of looks like it hasn't been addressed, but anyway.
Don't get it. Let's go with ours.
Would you like make a motion, CEO Becker, or do you have enough information to kind of bring something back to us? Or?
I think we have enough.
Okay.
I think if we come back to you with the reports, then you can get some more formal direction where you want to go, but I think we have enough just to do some base research.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I'll just have someone make the recommended motion then, please.
Mayor Barkley?
Oh, sorry, thank
I
you.
would move that council accept the Alberta Municipalities Resolutions Report as information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Dunham, are you still there? Okay, sorry, there he is. He's there, yeah. Okay, all right. So we will move into 6.1 with Director Kennedy on the groundwater monitoring.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. So very long, lots of pages are there. I'm sure everyone read that. Exciting reports in regards to the monitoring. So in early 23, we engaged Enviro West Engineering to start the monitoring programs for 2 areas, lots 1 to 3 at near Dodds Lake, as well as the former landfill west of the cemetery. The final reports were completed here just recently in January and submitted to Alberta Environment for their files. Excuse me. So a summary just of the report for lots 1 to 3. This report, following a phase 2 site assessment done by Tagish, on behalf of Tagish, was determined that petroleum hydrocarbon plume appears to originate in the east portion of the property. The plume migrates to the northwest, delineating delineation of the soil plumes was found to the north, south, and west. It was proposed to complete biannual groundwater monitoring to assess the ongoing status of the site. The assessment was conducted in accordance with Alberta Environment and Parks. 3 ground monitoring wells were monitored on July 18th, as well as again in October 27th. It is recommended that continued monitoring happen. Contaminants of concern will be monitored for trending as well as exceedance of the threshold values. Monitored contaminants will continually be compared to the guidelines that are relevant to the receptors in the area. Should it be found that the receptors at risk to the relevant guidelines and have been exceeded, remedial options will be discussed prior to the next sampling. In regards to the formal landfill, 8 existing groundwater monitoring wells were monitored and sampled on July 27th. Samples were submitted to Agate Labs for laboratory analysis. Analysis is based on the standard guidelines for landfills. All parameters were compared to background groundwater quality and water quality objectives set in the Canadian Environmental Quality Guidelines. Until sufficient background data is collected and established in order to establish control charts. Based on the information collected, it is recommended to obtain elevations of each groundwater monitoring well to confirm groundwater flow direction and therefore the upgradient locations. It should also be considered to increase groundwater monitoring to semi-annual, so spring and fall, to help determine the trend of the exceedances stated within the report. This increase in monitoring is recommended to eliminate and determine any statistical, temporal variation that may be occurring. If it is found that the receptors are at risk to mobile contaminants, and remedial options will be discussed prior to the next sampling. It's also recommended that monitoring of the wells continue to establish control limits. Groundwater quality control limits will be used to monitor naturally occurring groundwater parameters. These limits will assist in determining if elevated concentrations are associated with the release due to the facility or just general fluctuations in the groundwater. Adequate and comprehensive background baseline data is pertinent to the success of this method. It is recommended that representative groundwater samples be collected semi-annually for the next 4 years in order to establish background information that is needed. So we have actually budgeted for that, so that will happen for the former landfill, as well as the lot 1 to 3. So that was already budgeted for. So moving forward, we are recommending just further monitoring of both sites.
Can you explain, Director Kennedy, that one of the paragraphs, I think it was third or fourth paragraph, it's on page 2 maybe, to obtain elevations of each monitoring well to confirm groundwater flow and upgradient locations. Can you explain that in simple terms?
Sure.
Okay,
So unfortunately, they didn't have elevation data of the cells. We have locations, but they didn't have elevation. So in order to determine what the groundwater elevation is, we need to survey in that point, measure down. Once that measured down, they can then establish where that groundwater elevation is and then start charting exactly where that flow is. Is it going south, north, where it fluctuates as well? Spring and fall, there'll be fluctuations in elevation. So that's what helps determine that.
Then with the, like the outline of the area for the old landfill, I remember it well from my childhood days, but like, does that kind of render, like, what about the use of that property, I guess, is what I'm asking, because we do have dog park, disc golf, downhill tobogganing, that kind of stuff. Like, is there a risk there, or?
As of right now, this is what we're determining.
Okay.
So we need baseline data in order to determine any risk.
Okay.
I don't believe there is any risk to the surface, because that's
Yeah.
all surface.
Yeah,
So that part is good. What we've determined is, in order for us to establish any, or recommend any further action,
Okay.
we need to determine this baseline data.
okay. I see, it's interesting, I see FCM, I think they have grants available for waste to energy, but it's digging up old landfills, right? Not new waste, it's old waste, so. Councillor Bates?
So with a little bit of experience that I've had at the Waste Commission that monitors the landfill at Pine Lake, probably those elevations that you're talking about are going to change with drought, or, you know, when we get wet years. And I see us, I don't have a solution, but I see us, we're in a never-ending study here, would be my guess. I'm wondering a little bit if we shouldn't separate the two in our minds and potentially ask what it would take to remediate the ones over by Dodds Lake, because I think that's probably doable. And then you don't just keep measuring and measuring and measuring, and that land hasn't been disturbed for years and years and years. So whatever it is today, it's probably kind of found its.
To Councillor Bates, so we did do an estimate for removal when we did the preliminary design for that Dodds Lake area for the parking area. So
Right.
at that time, the estimated cost for reclamation of removal of the contaminant was in that $2 to $250 range for that removal. What this helps is actually determining what the extent of the contaminant is, and then what type of treatment would really be needed. So I think what I see, for lots 1 to 3 is being able to provide you with more solid information as to, do we go ahead with the removal? And yes, we will eventually come back to you with 2 separate reports and separate these out.
Yeah, I just think, I think we should set a target time of X number of years or whatever, and say, you know, if we're still monitoring it, that we should probably just fix it. But
I think it'll depend on the results. Like if things change in next year, like that, that's where that baseline data is gonna come in and help us with making that decision exactly. Yep.
And like I say, I see them different. The old landfill's huge, obviously, compared to whatever's over at Dodds Lake. Thank you.
Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, you mentioned FCM digging up old landfills. Is this anything, do we have any more details on that? No, on what they're offering to, because that's a massive fund that they have, right? But it's a massive reclamation project.
Yeah, I don't see it happening here. I know Barma has spoke about that before, because I get questions, and the caloric value in old landfills just really isn't the same as it is with fresh municipal waste. So does it even make sense? I mean, it is what it is. It's where it is right now. So
Yeah,
it's been there a long time.
And I would agree with Director Kennedy that testing, you know, the next steps are just getting that testing in order, and then making those determination of where we go. Thanks.
Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley, through to Director Kennedy. Has there been any work done, or should we do any work on, is there methane that's coming out of the old landfill site? Do we know that?
There was elevated levels in some of the results. But again, until we get further data,
So that'll come out of this
Yep.
subsequent monitoring?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? If not, we'll just have somebody please make a motion that we accept this report as information. Councillor Hystad.
I'll make a motion to accept this report as information. Thanks.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay. Carried. And we will move on to 6.2 with Director Kennedy on the Aquatic Center funding.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. So yeah, as per council request, we are bringing back some information in regards to sponsorship, naming rights, and advertising services for the new Aquatic Recreation Center. We've broken it down into two services really to be provided. First phase would be the assessment, evaluation, and report. This would provide a master list of in-kind I had to look that up, philanthropic sponsorship and naming right opportunities, recommended pricing, terms of sponsorship, as well as comparable naming rights in similar markets. Second phase would be the actual marketing plan and strategy of execution. This would be key messaging, communication, design and sales packages, the sales calls itself, as well as executing agreements for ongoing mentoring of staff to ensure that these agreements are kept in place. Estimated costs. So for the first phase, it would likely be more of a lump sum cost in that $30,000 range, where phase two would be based on percentage of successful sales, which would range in the between 15 and 20% of those sales successfully signed up. Funding is anticipated to come from the general cap reserve if council would like to proceed with this. So yeah, I was just bringing the report back to you in regards to looking for some next steps.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Maceros?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley, through to Director Kennedy. Thank you for putting this report together. I'm wondering, is there any indication, like did you go and, did you talk to people who provide this service, and is there any indication from them what kind of money could be raised? So what we see here is that we know how much it would cost us, but do we have any idea whether it's going to be worth it?
It really is set on the target that we provide them. So we had targeted, I believe in our estimate for fundraising, we were in that $1 million to $2 million range was the target that we were wanting to try and achieve for sponsorship and naming rights. So that was kind of set that target. Really, we give them, we did reach out to consultants in order to figure out these phasing and what the steps are. But really it comes down to, yeah, what we provide them and to an incentive, and then they go and they do a market analysis of what they feel our market can bring in within Innisfail. So we have a goal, but they will actually come back and tell us if that's achievable and in that first phase.
Okay, so it'll cost us $30,000 for them to tell us whether that goal is achievable?
Pretty
Okay.
much, yep.
Thanks.
Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I'm wondering, obviously we can put forward the recommended motion for this as we're just accepting it for information at this point in time, unless we put a motion forward to pursue it. But we haven't, as a council, really had an opportunity since we've had discussions with the province and different ministers around what our funding model looks like at this point in time. So I'm wondering if we could perhaps get on one of our upcoming agendas for us to actually discuss that, to see where we are with things, because personally, before we proceed with this, I'd like to see where we're all sitting and what our feelings are around what we've seen of the possibilities of an amount from the provincial government and how that will affect the entire project.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dunham. Councillor Bates?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that request, and the question I have, I guess, is we've talked about naming rights of many of our facilities for some time, so are we confining this to the Aquatic Center? I mean, we have a number of facilities that we could name. It seems expensive, especially that 15 to 20% afterwards, depending on it's chicken and the egg. I'd like to know if we really have $1 million worth on purely the aquatic center. Like, that almost seems high for it by itself, but maybe if we had the discussion that Councillor Dunham is suggesting and added to it a little bit about some of our other facilities.
Councillor
That's a
Bates.
rhetorical question.
Yeah, I did ask them about what would, like, they wanted it to be specific to target a facility, in order to, it gets bigger and bigger if we start looking at other buildings. The report itself just keeps climbing, so then the costs just keep climbing. So we did have to pick what are we looking at? Because, yeah, the question was asked, like, what if we picked the curling rink, and we picked the library and other buildings, and that can be done, it's just more value, if that's what the council was looking for.
So one supplemental question is, I think I remember Councillor Wing suggesting too, that we look at fundraising, and I think that scope perhaps got beyond naming rights. I'm not sure. That's a question to you, Councillor Wing. Were you thinking something bigger than naming rights, or?
Yeah, so I guess my thoughts on this start here, as far as saying this isn't our area of expertise, so I think it is really important that we hire that initial conversation or consultant to have that initial conversation. From my perspective, part of the work relative to that phase one is from the context of doing that from that feasibility study perspective, to say, you know, this is kind of what the depth looks like in the communities. These would be some of the areas of focus for us. Then we can, you know, line up what our needs are from a financial perspective, for sure. But I think it's important in this, even at this phase, that we understand two really important pieces. Philanthropy or donations and sponsorship are two entirely different matters, entirely different pieces of work. And when we talk about costs for phase two, you would never sign a contract for philanthropic donations with a fundraiser that's based on a percentage. That's unethical fundraising. It's not something that we would entertain. Sponsorship money, which is different, right? Then percentages are absolutely appropriate. So I think we need to agree that I believe there's more than $2 million worth of opportunities in Central Alberta for this particular facility. I think right now I agree with Director Kennedy in that we have lots more opportunities moving forward as far as putting names on things in Innisfail, but relative to getting this aquatic center built, we need money to build it, and then we need money to run it as we move forward, and that's kind of where that broader other naming opportunity comes into play, just like we have policy now for our other facilities. So yeah, I just would really encourage council and administration to just get moving forward with this, and yeah, there'll be lots to learn.
Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, I think Councillor Wing said it best, everything that she laid out for us. And I see more than $1 million. There's potential here in Central Alberta, as well as some of the partners that are coming online with us in the next few years, and the work that we're doing with other groups in Central Alberta and around the province and the country. So it's, to us, this is money well spent for us to educate ourselves. As to Councillor Dunham, I think I would agree with Councillor Dunham that that strategy session happen. Thank you.
Okay, and I guess I'll go back to what Councillor Dunham said. I think my stance from the beginning has been we need to know that we're getting funding from other levels of government, as well as potentially another municipal partner at the minimum. And are we going to spend more money before we even know where we are with that? And I will put this out there, and you know, is it even realistic? Well, it's not realistic. If we don't get funding from the provincial government, federal government, extensive funding, we're not going to build this new aquatic center. I will just put that out there. So are we going to spend another 30 and then say, well, gee, sorry, we can't build this because we didn't get this funding over here? So I think this is kind of putting the cart a little bit before the horse, and I would like to wait a little bit until we can kind of get yes, no, and I'm afraid the answer is going to be no, to be honest with you, and then maybe we have to go back to option 2 or 3 or 4 on what are we going to do with our aquatic center, which is running, barely. And can we wait 3, 5, 7, 8 years to build a new one? No. So we need to, I think in the next few months, make a hard decision on this, which way we're going, and it's either going to be build a new one, or it's going to be renovating the existing one. And that's kind of, putting it out there, but that's really how I feel. And I've got a lot of reservations right now about being able to move forward with a new one, just because of letters we've received, and you can use your MSI or your LGFF. Well, you know, it's 43% below 2011 levels, so there's not a lot of it to use for anything, let alone building a new aquatic center. Councillor Heisted?
Councillor Wing was
Councillor Wing?
first.
Okay.
Oh, thanks. I agree with you. I think part of the work that we can do if we have this strategy session is have some conversations about what the buckets are relative to our sponsorships and our donations when we go to the government with, you know, with even a more formal request, being able to understand, or help them understand we've looked at the full scale or the full spectrum of where money can come from, and sort of, I think there's a level of conversation that we can have that just helps inform those conversations at the government level. They always have, from my experience, they always want to know where the community's skin in the game is. They want to know where the community is stepping up with money as well. So I agree with you. Let's put it all together as a body of work. And and like you, Mayor Barkley, I'm very afraid that we're not going to get the support we need from the province or the federal government, and that's going to really change our focus.
Councillor Heisted?
Yeah, and I agree with both of you, your comments. I'm concerned that the province and the federal government won't come forward. And this goes back to on us to present to our community that what's happening in this province, and how the funding we have been affected over months and months, or for years, as to funding, and just being upfront with people, because I think some of the expectations out there is it's happening, and it's a rec facility bigger than a pool, and that, to me, that's disingenuous. That we need to make sure that we're out in front of that, and explaining why we're going this route, but as well as saying, hey, we can't do it on our own.
Yeah, and I think it takes time too, right? We live in this society today where we want everything to happen now, so it's hard to hang on to things for month after month after month, but it does take a lot of time, and I think we're partway through discussions with other levels of governments, but we certainly haven't completed those discussions, so I don't know. Like right now, I'm a little reluctant to put more forward without kind of knowing exactly where we sit and what we're going to do, and what is that timestamp where we say, okay, we have to change directions here. We can't just keep going for the next 2 or 3 years kind of down this path, I don't think, with the current condition of the aquatic center. Would that be fair, Director Jenkins? Or
yeah, I think we've been having that conversation for quite some time about 3 to 5 years. So yeah, I think we are getting to a point where there could be some money that needs to be spent just to maintain current operations.
so were you just looking for the recommended motion today, like that we accept this as information, or are you looking for something more specific?
Mayor Barkley, from what I'm hearing of council, you wish to dedicate some time to a strategy session regarding the Aquatic Center. So certainly what I advise is to accept this information and to direct administration to coordinate further discussion through Aquatic Center strategy session at an upcoming or a future. I'll just stop there. Yeah, I won't say a date. But
Would you do that in an AMP meeting, or?
I'd say
or-
more geared on strategy
Yeah,
type
okay.
of session.
Yep, no, fair enough. Counselor Wayne?
I'll make that motion, Mayor Barkley. However you want to write it.
Well, we'll have, I think, two different motions. Okay,
Thanks. Accept it
Okay.
as information.
okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, then did you want another motion to,
Sure, if council wishes, it's,
okay,
yeah.
Dale, Counselor Dunham, would you like
Yeah,
to make
I'd
that motion?
like to direct that administration find a time in the not-so-distant future for us to have a couple hours strategic meeting to go over the Aquatic Center proposal rundown.
Okay, thank you.
I'll let you wordsmith it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was fine. Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. Cool. We'll move on to 7.1 with Director Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So we're looking to have a discussion with council regarding the marketing of solar offset credits associated with our installation of solar PV on various town facilities. So over the last couple of years, we've successfully installed over 200 kilowatts of distributed solar generation. Carbon offset credits for this generation can be validated and marketed through the Alberta Technology Innovation and Emissions Reduction System, or TIER. Emission offsets are generators, and they're then quantified and verified by corporations that then market them into this pool or registry. The offsets are then purchased by large carbon emitters to meet their compliance requirements through the Alberta Emissions Offset Registry. Our current production is estimated to have a value of between $7,000 and $10,000 annually after the commission's charged. Offset credits can be sold for a period of 10 years. Compliance credits through the TIER program are only available for 10 years. After this period, the credits could potentially be made available on other voluntary markets. However, these credits are currently far less lucrative in terms of their monetary value. So we have received three quotes from companies that would validate and then market our credits on a commission basis. Quote, commission rates vary between 25% and 30% being retained by the marketer, with the town being paid out annually for the balance. Based on the evaluation rates and the agreement terms, administration is recommending Solar Offset be the company of choice for a 10-year term and a 25% commission rate. The agreement includes all of our currently installed generation, with exception of the original 19 kilowatts installed on the town office in 2018. This installation is not eligible because provincial MCCAC funding was received for that project. So just looking for a motion to enter into that contract for the, with Solar Offset.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. I absolutely love this. I think it really reflects a level of sophistication here at the town, so thanks for all your work on this. And can I please have someone make the recommended motion?
Okay,
Somebody?
I'll move
Okay.
that
Councilor Mercedes.
we direct administration to enter into an agreement to appoint Solar Offset for the creation of credits from distributed solar generation under the Alberta Tier Offset System for a period of 10 years.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Councilor Bates?
Yeah, one question. So we would get about 7,000 to 10,000 after they took their 25 to 30%. Is this something that going forward would apply to the solar farm that we're planning to
Yes, it
do
would.
too?
Yeah, anything under 5 megawatts.
So the estimate of what we would be paying to have that done would be approximately how much?
So we're at 200 now. We're looking at basically 10 times that in the
Yeah.
in the solar farm.
It just, yeah, then it becomes pretty expensive.
Looking at the various companies, I think once you get sort of above that 1 megawatt, they had different classifications. So there's a good chance maybe commission rates might be different if you're dealing at scale.
It's like real estate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and this would be a commitment on this for 10 years?
10 years. The agreements are, you have to provide 12 months if you want to back out of a contract, but that you can get out of it if you determine need be.
Well, I think it might require more debate when we get to the next big investment, but
So with the new project in the industrial part, you're looking at 100 grand in revenue, basically, is what you're saying?
Would be the estimate, yeah.
Okay,
But I can just report back to council in terms of, you know, what those commission rates look like at larger generation. I didn't
well, if it's bringing
explore
us
that at this point.
$100,000 in revenue, like, I mean, hard to turn that down, but, okay. Okay, so we have a motion, all in favor? Okay, carried unanimous. Awesome, thank you. 7.2, Director Jenkins, are we going through that? I know we have an in-camera session as well, and,
Yes, so essentially I was just going to introduce
Okay.
the item, and then we can have more detailed discussion in camera on the specifics. So we can do a little overview now, or we can just, okay. So on January 15th, council directed administration to issue a request for quote for real estate services for the remaining lots in Napoleon Meadows. It was issued on the 16th with a closing date of February 5th. The request was emailed to Realtor contacts and posted on the town website. 4 proposals were received from Remax, the Blair team, Century 21, All Stars Realty, Coldwell Banker On Track Realty, and Royal LePage Network Realty. The evaluation criteria as part of the RFQ was 50% based on commission rates, 20% marketing strategies, 20% innovative initiatives, and 10% on past performance, vendor reliability. So again, we can have more detailed discussion of the 4 individual proposals in camera prior to council making a determination.
sure, okay, thank you. So I guess we'll move into 8.1, correspondence and information, please. In the correspondence, there's an email from Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Awards. I would like us to have the town of Innisfail nominated for that award. It says right in there that you can nominate your own organization, so I will make a motion that we submit a nomination for this award. Does anybody have any questions about that? All in favor? Okay. And if anybody would like to attend, please let Juanita know I'm going to attend. I believe Councillor Harrison went last year.
I certainly did, Mayor Barkley, and I think it's certainly worthwhile. It was a very good event, and it's good to see the other communities there, so I think it was very worthwhile that we were there, and
It's good to
I
hear, thank
certainly
you.
recommend that we attend again this year.
Okay, thank you. All in, did we vote?
Do we voted, right?
No. Okay, all in favor of the motion?
In my head,
Carried. We're both losing it, it's okay. I'll just have somebody please make a motion that we accept the correspondence as information. Councillor Hustad.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, thanks. Okay, and then we're going to go into council reports. Councillor Harrison is up first.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Again, a very quiet week. I only had one committee meeting, and that was MPC last week, and looking forward to the upcoming week coming up.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Bates?
so yeah, I'll be pleased to have some calibration on written reports because I'm sure I was part of the detailed cause of that. So since our last ANP, because I think we've covered verbally others, one that I had that I actually did report on, but I didn't have all the details. We did have the drought committee last Monday before the A&P, and it predominantly was a presentation from Todd Asen of drought risk and management, and he's an Alberta Environmental Approvals Manager, and that did result in the press release, which folks have seen. We had an MPC where we approved a home occupation and a subdivision extension. We approved a lesser extension than what was requested because it's been approved repetitively and not with a great amount of progress. And this week I have another regular Water Commission meeting, and I'll be the guest backup at the Sewer Commission strat plan. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Last week was, I spent the entire week in subdivision and development appeal training, so I got the long version of the course apparently. So it was 5 or 4 days plus the exam afterwards. I was successful in completing it, so I can assume my duties now with the Subdivision and Appeal Board. This week I'll be attending the Innisfil Public Library presentation to Red Deer County tomorrow and the Water Commission meeting on Wednesday. And just as a note for our records, I will be away on vacation from March 18th to the 25th, so I will miss one council meeting and one A&P meeting at that time.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Maceras?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. We've got a chamber meeting this week coming up on Thursday. I'll update Juanita on that. And other than that, I had the pleasure of attending and judging at the 4-H speeches on Saturday. That was an honor and a privilege, so that was great. Thank you. Those kids are amazing.
And Councillor Dunham?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Quiet week for me last week. I do, however, want to just take a second to apologize to my fellow council members and the senior leadership team, as when I was leaving town last week, I unfortunately left my computer and notebook in Innisfail and did not realize until I arrived here, so I did not have my notes for the previous reports we were supposed to submit. So just for full transparency, I just wanted to apologize. That's why my report did not go in. And I will see you all next week.
Sounds good. Thank you. Councillor Heistad?
Just all I have to report the previous week, I was at a village meeting. It was a really good meeting. I know that we, our board chair and myself would like to meet up with CO Becker this upcoming month, so we'll send you an email as to the request. And yeah, that's about it. It's Valentine's Day this week, so you better, you know, go out, look after your Valentine. Thanks.
Get my dog a dog treat, I guess. Yeah, just, I don't know, been spending some time on Cape things, and have a meeting this week with Minister Jones with respect to Cape. They're changing some funding for the RETAs and how that will be presented over the next 3 years. Other than that, I'll report next council meeting, I guess. I know that we will figure these reports out, and maybe we'll talk some further about it after council to kind of figure out what the report should look like and everything, so that we can get those on the straight and narrow. I take some time to make changes, so it'll all work out eventually. But we'll go into open mic. Does Mr. King have anything he would like to share with us? It's already turned on.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Just a couple things. I was also privileged enough to attend the public speaking. We have a very wonderful group of young men and women going through the 4-H program, and it's vitally important. So there were some very interesting topics. Just a comment about the Aquatic Center as a private citizen. I'm glad to see that strategizing is going to take place, and I would really love to see a town hall
because I believe the public are not aware of what the long-term cost could be. I mean, we can say a number, but how do we do that and maintain the viability of our community, which is extremely good right now? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to upcoming events. Just have somebody please make a motion that we accept the upcoming events as information.
Mayor Barclay, I'd be happy to make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we'll have a motion to go in camera, please. Councillor Maceras?
I'll move that we go in camera.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay. In favor? Okay, carried. Are we good to go, Juanita? We good? Okay, so we'll go to 7.2, and I'll just have someone make that recommended motion, please. Oh. Okay, okay. So
Mayor
there-
Barkley, I'll make the motion then that council awards the listing of the remaining 9 lots in Napoleon Meadows to Century 21
No,
for...
no, Caldwell Banker.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I wrote it, yeah. Caldwell Banker for a period of 12 months. I apologize.
Okay, any discussion about this? Counselor Bates?
I'll bet we get more next time.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great process to go through and scored. And thank you so much for the work. So all in favor? Okay, unanimous. And just make a note that Councillor Dunham recused himself from this discussion and did not vote on this motion either, or from the in-camera discussion. And then we'll just have a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Hystad.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. We're adjourned at 5:05.